The North Florida Sports Network.
All right. Welcome back. It's the North Florida Sports Network. We got a quick show for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Portal Kombat. We're also going to touch on the NBA playoffs. We're going to do a little bit of FSU baseball.
Boy, I tell you what, that was exciting
last night. Walk-off against JU. We'll talk about Ant-Man and the T-Wolves going up 2-0 against the Nuggets. So, big show. Let's get started. All right. Welcome back. It's the North Florida Sports Network. If you haven't done so, download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. I mean, damn, it's available everywhere. You can follow on YouTube and like whatever that stuff is. Comment, whatever. But we're talking here in the middle of the week. It's May. It's hot. Starting to get real hot.
Super hot.
Let's touch on FSU baseball real quick.
Yeah, big game.
The series last weekend. They only got to play 2 against NC State.
Right. Hey, man, we were there for that would-be second game Saturday
yeah,
night.
That was frustrating. But you know, the rules are the rules, and you have lightning, and it's hard to work around it. I know both teams were like the pitching. They're like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, like now that a few days have passed, it really does sound like the field was not in the greatest shape, particularly the infield. Kind of surprising, but yeah, it definitely saved bullpen for Florida State, which I think came in handy last night against Jacksonville.
Yeah, and they lost the opener by 1 run Friday night, but they came back Sunday afternoon, won convincingly. Really good, really nice effort by Dorsey. They only had 2 pitchers pitch.
Right. You know, you had Dorsey, and then you had Connor Holtz.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, like Dorsey looks much more like a starting pitcher than a guy that you would want to bring out of the pen. I mean, he kind of settles in, develops his own rhythm. You watched him like work through not being able to find his curveball early innings, and then he kind of found it.
Right.
And I was surprised, man. They let him go up to about 110 pitches, and I think that's as much as he's thrown this season.
Well, that's good. They need to give him the ball and rely on somebody.
And you know, Jamie Arnold didn't pitch poorly. Like 5 or 6 infield hits on Friday night for NC State. I mean, they don't strike out a ton.
Yeah, he has a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah, and that's kind of his game. That's the way he gets outs is striking people out. It just, you know, NC State's not a bad team. So it did suck to not really get a chance at a series win per se, but you know, at least you didn't get a series loss.
That's true. 'Cause it's really important that FSU hosts a regional and I would say a super regional.
Right.
And that's still on the table, you would guess?
Yeah. For me personally, the importance of the super regional has everything to do, honestly. I mean, obviously you want to have home field advantage throughout if you can, but it keeps you from having to travel and play one of those SEC teams. And that, you know, that's the closest thing you're going to, you know, Clemson atmosphere early when you saw Florida State play at Clemson, like that's that kind of atmosphere that you're going to, and it'd be nice to not have to do that to go to Omaha, but I mean, you know, whatever. They're going to be back in the postseason. Winning last night was huge.
It was. Let's talk about that one.
You only played 2 games over the weekend, so you couldn't get that series win. So this game, more than the win would help, it became you lose this game, and it's really going to it's going to have more impact than most midweek games. And Jacksonville pitched really well for about 8 2/3 innings.
So they had a lead. What is it?
They were up 6-3.
Okay.
Going into the ninth. I think 6-4 maybe going into the bottom of the ninth. Then wheels came off for their closer. Florida State ended up tying it up. Diamez Ross was able to tag and get home off of a little foul out from Dingus. And then Lance Triple, the backup first baseman, he got up with his first at bat in a long time. I think it was the bottom of the ninth, with a chance to win the game, and just absolutely drilled one. But it was a hell of a play by the second baseman. It was the third out. He makes another play in the top of the 11th at first base that saves a run, gets the third out, and then comes up bottom half and gets the walk off.
Wow.
It was big win for them. You saw that they started out really flat. There wasn't a lot of energy from Florida State. They had a couple of guys starting that don't really play every day.
Yeah.
But by the end of the game, man, it was, they were as charged up as any weekend series. So it was good to see. It's going to be a big test these last 2 weekends. You got to go to a place like Pittsburgh, which it's going to be chilly. It's going to be
you got 7 regular season games on the schedule left.
Right. You got 2 weekend series, and then you travel to DeLand, Florida next week to play Stetson.
Yeah, that won't be easy.
No.
But you win that Georgia Tech series. You win 5 out of the 7 games.
5 out of the 7 games.
You have a good chance of hosting.
Yeah, you'd be sitting at about 41-11, 41-12 on the season before the ACC tournament. You're definitely going to host a regional at worst.
I think they've locked that up.
Yeah, but I think if you
right now
win the last 2 series, maybe win a couple games in the ACC tournament, you got a really good argument for a national
seed is the goal right now for FSU baseball. I believe that they already locked up a regional up for the first round. Albeit a complete collapse here at the end of the year.
Yeah, you put an offer up, and then you might have some question, but.
What a fun year. Man, it's been going by fast.
Oh, yeah, man.
We're going to have some peanut gallery.
It goes a lot quicker when the team's winning.
We'll have J-Mac on here. We're going to ask him some questions. But I went to the game Sunday with little guy. It was his first game. It was fun. I think I sat behind Link Jarrett's wife. That was cool. They're really nice.
He's got the whole fam, man.
I didn't even know. But it was a good game. It was a nice effort by Dorsey, and it's a fun team to watch. And they have a lot of, it's not the most talented FSU team, but they got a lot of grit, and they fight, and they're never out of it.
Right. And for some of the guys, they have something that a lot of FSU teams haven't had, and that is the taste of being bad, like on a bad team.
Yeah.
And the memories of an FSU team that didn't win games.
Right.
And you could see it, man, from guys like Tibbs, Cam Smith, Jaime, even, dude, it's, I don't know. I still maintain that if and when Florida State does win in Omaha, it's going to be a year that nobody really expects them to do it. They're not talking about them being the overall best team and dominant. And so we'll see, man.
All right, we will.
Complete 180 from last year. It's really
the
really
first
good to see.
Well, it's that type of that's baseball. College football. We're in the middle of the second portal window, and for FSU, you really haven't seen much in the second opening until today. Yes, Portal Kombat is back. FSU lands a linebacker. Tell us about him.
Right, Cam Riley. Originally was going to go to NC State. Never really, he wasn't part of their spring. He was thought to be the replacement for Peyton Wilson, who has now gone to the NFL. Transfer from Auburn, originally from Evergreen, Alabama. Spent a ton of time there. Very familiar with Connecticut County. Very small town, but you couldn't make a better size linebacker in the lab. I mean, it's huge.
That's what I like.
And he can move.
Yep.
So it's a huge. It's a very good pickup for the linebacker room. I wouldn't say that they're going to be the top overall unit.
No, but this was the question.
Right. Where are you going to get a little more experience and a little more? And they did just that.
Yep.
It was big because they wanted him in the first window. He was a guy that they were looking at. Didn't really work out. Now there was some talk about grades or the fact that he had to finish and graduate from Auburn before, and Florida State wasn't necessarily going to wait that long. But I think that they still saw that they need to address the linebacker spot a bit after spring. So that's a big pickup, man. The other one taking Omarion Cooper back from Colorado. What I read is that it's going to be a preferred walk-on spot. So for me, I just got to assume that he understands the deal and he's going to make the move to safety, which would be a nice addition to the safety room. It would just add depth. And I mean, he wasn't somebody that went to Colorado and did terribly. He actually started games, he produced. I know their defense was horrible, but I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Charles Kelly defense, what the story is there. It's a little bit of a head scratcher. He was one of the few kids that left and went out to Colorado that I had wished had stayed. Him and Gant were pretty much the only two.
Yeah.
But I think he understands. I think what's clear is that he's ready to come back and explain to anybody who will listen just what a big mistake it was that he made going out to Colorado. That's because you're talking about a kid that was a freshman all-conference player, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 21, and then came into 22, had some injuries, but had a little bit of pub, a little bit of juice to his name when he went out to Colorado, and now he's back as a scout team player, paying his own way. So there's a lesson to be learned there, and he's not somebody that is completely talentless.
Right.
So I like both of those pickups. Overall, the transfer portal in this window was so highly overblown. Mm-hmm. Guys like Josh Pate and national people were making a huge deal out of it. And I think what happened is that these agents and these NIL collectives just started feeding them bad info. Negotiating tactics.
Right.
Getting schools to get really scared and start ponying up. I will say, though, that a couple of schools really made out in this window. They were able to, improve their roster. Miami probably more than anybody.
Yeah, this is a big year for them. They're going all in.
Right. Damian Martinez, the running back, to me, that's a bigger addition than Cam Ward. I know they needed a quarterback.
Really?
I'm talking about just overall talent.
The guy from Oregon State, right?
Right. Compared to his peers in college football, I think you got one of the best running backs in the game. This is it, though.
Yeah.
Miami has a very light schedule.
Right.
Everybody on their schedule is beatable. There is no excuse really for Mario to not be in the ACC title game at least.
Yep.
So they went out and they spent like that. They got the big defensive tackle from Michigan State, Simeon Barrow. Florida State had been interested in him the first time he jumped in. He ended up staying at Michigan State. I don't think they were willing to go as high as some of the other schools that he was considering, but Miami just straight up beat LSU for him and outspent. LSU's doing major damage control right now from that. They're going all in this year. So, Miami did some work in this late portal, but other than that, man, there weren't a lot of moves to be made for a team like Florida State. You'd looked and thought maybe if another super wide receiver jumps in, you go there. I know the Zandamela kid seemed like he would have been somebody that they would interested in, but it seems like the only in-state schools that really snipped that kid were Florida and UCF. So he ended up in Gainesville. Just a very lackluster second window of the portal. They got a lot of build for no delivery.
Well, I think, you got a lot of guys in the first window and your roster wasn't. There was, if you could say one position now where you would want to add more depth, is you still wide receiver?
I mean, depth. I don't want to add. I don't want to add depth at wide receiver. Yeah, I want to have. If there was one guy you were going to take, it would have been just the bona fide game breaker at wide receiver, and they really didn't. There really wasn't that.
Yeah,
I mean, there were some guys that put up numbers and things like, but not just a true number one in any offense. So I don't know, man. This far out of the season, I really think the defense is going to dictate most of the season.
Well, it was good to get that linebacker, Lucas. What is that?
Cam Riley. Jesus. And Lucas, Duke Cooper back. So those are two late additions. I don't know. There may be another ad here. There's a couple of under the radar defensive linemen that they're kind of sniffing around. One of them's an FCS guy.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. Well,
we had to go.
Well, we got to get on out of here. But before we do, we're going to talk a little NBA playoffs. Nuggets are down 0-2 to the T-Wolves. Chris Finch and the T-Wolves, former Nuggets assistant. Boy, I mean, what did I say? I'd bet the house on Denver to even this thing out, and they got killed.
Right. Well,
Gobert was having a kid and wasn't even there.
Yeah. Well, Jamal Murray went 3 of 18.
Yeah, and had then he threw a heating pad on the court.
Had an absolute temper tantrum on the court.
They're getting to him.
Yeah.
They're getting to him, and they're playing defense. And Anthony Edwards,
I'm telling you, dude, that guy is
making a name for himself.
Arguably as good as anybody in the league right now.
Well,
but what he's doing, I mean,
this is where he has to do it. We talked about if you want people to know your name, you got to win in the playoffs, and no better team to do it against than the defending champs. And he has them down 2-0 going back home to Minnesota.
Right.
Him and Anthony Towns both put together good games in game 2. And just they have nice veteran experience, like a guy like Monte Morris.
What happens
Mike Conley Jr.
What happens if they go down 3-0? Do you think the Nuggets have a chance?
No.
Yeah.
No team in NBA history has come back from 3-0.
Yeah.
Not one.
It's a big game.
Yeah. And the other series, OKC, they beat Dallas in game 1. That no one's giving OKC much. Even though they're the 1 seed, everybody was it's going to be Denver.
I'll tell you what,
Boston,
man.
But.
Big old Chet, dude. It doesn't look like he'd be able to take the pounding and just. But man, dude, he hangs with them. Dude, they're gonna be tough.
Yeah, they're gonna be a handful, and they took care of business. You got Boston and Cleveland. That's gonna be an easy series for Boston. And then the fun series in the East is
Pacers Knicks.
Oh my God, the Knicks! If you haven't been watching them, you need to do it. Every game they get into, it's gonna be tied with a minute left. And it's going to be back and forth. And Jalen Brunson, I think the next game, the over-under is 37.5 for his points per game. Jeez!
It's a lot.
They're getting it together. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. They get back going tonight with some more games. We'll keep an eye on all those. We'll keep an eye on the transfer portal. Stay tuned for more North Florida Sports Network. We're coming at you live from Metro tomorrow, and we'll talk to you next time right here on the North Florida Sports Network.
We had to go. Our ride was here. We got a shuttle to our